We are reviewing for the Chapter 6 test really quickly. And then we're going to go over your quiz. An equation which involves derivatives and that's not enough. The solution, right, whose solution is a function. When you solve equations, you're usually finding numbers. This is going to be a function. So on the exam, to get full points for the differential equation, you're going to have y equals. You may not have that. It's only 1 point. If you're looking at time, I would say, go do the rest of the test and come back and deal with that later. You got to learn how to be a random person, actually. Okay, and what else does it say? How do I know I have a solution? If I say dp dt is equal to 3 times p, and I tell you that p is equal to 3t squared over 2, is that the solution? How do I know? Take the derivative, substitute this back in there and see if it makes a true statement. So what is dp dt? dp dt is equal to 3t. Is that the same as 3p? No. Be careful watching your variables. P and t are not the same. Always just substitute back in and check. Okay, so what's on the test? This is what's on the test. Hey, Zach, Cameron? Differential equations in slope fields. Do the AP problems. Now, these were easy differential equations. If you do the AP problems, because that's what it's going to be, is an AP problem, you'll have the right level of difficulty preparing for the test. And I'll save this, and I'll put it up as a PDF file as well. Okay, this was the hard part for you guys. That was the quiz we just took. Use of, I've heard that one before. Use substitutions. We will go over that. On page 332, there are properties of integrals that you need to know. It's review. But look at it. Remember when you do the use substitutions that you look at that blue sheet and all you know are the few integrals that are on there. For instance, x to the n, the power rule, the integral of the sine of x, cosine of x, secant squared. If you think about it, if you look at that sheet, there aren't that many. You do not have to know the integral of the tangent function. Or even how to get it. They won't ask you that. Okay, and then the last section, and we didn't do much with half-life and that sort of thing, but we did talk about differential equations, and even we did problem where we did it from a word problem. It's on the Chapter 6 review sheet. So you might want to look at that. Exponential growth is huge on the exam. So make sure you know how to do those. In fact, all those first problems in 6.4 are, well, they're not all, but a fair number of them are PERT. Remember PERT? P equals P naught e to the RT. Now, typing on my smartboard, I was kind of stuck here. Let me write that better. dp dt is equal to k times p. Get used to different variables. Some of you like to think about just x's and y's, and that's the problem last year with the waste problem, because we did everything in x's and y's, and then all of a sudden there were w's and t's, and you didn't know what to do with them. But it doesn't matter. How do you solve this? And by the way, Adam, you guys, this is on the exam. This is going to be a multiple choice question. Could be in the free response, but I've seen it all the time. Some variation of this. Multiply by dt equals k times p times dt. And we separate the variables. Cole, we can't get any points because we haven't separated them yet. Divide by p. You just can't have variables mixed up. This differential tells you what the variable has to be. And if you're talking, you can't be listening. Not possible. No, I got proof of that. So dp over p equals k dt. Now we get our point for separating, and now what are we going to do? Integrate. Do you guys recognize the left one? Change it to x's if you'd rather, but this is the natural log of the absolute value of p. You need the absolute value. Depends on the initial conditions as to whether or not you're going to need it. Equals k times what? T. Plus some constant. If you put the constant in later, it's wrong. And on the multiple choice questions, I've seen it, one of the answers will be putting in the constant later. They like to trick you. So now what do we do? I want to solve for p, right? How do you undo a log? So we're going to, what Mrs. Hersman says is exponentiated. We're going to take e to both sides. This is an exponent. Exponents do not distribute. You'd like to say that they do, but they don't. Okay, so the absolute, what does this end up being? Sorry, went a little too fast. Absolute value of p is equal to e to the k t plus c. I even saw the students on the exam write that out, and then they went and wrote this. A fair number did that, actually. So we can't do that. That's not a correct statement. These are exponents. Using rules of exponents, and this is the thing that I would like about having a CAS calculator with the Inspires, is you could actually try this out and see which is true. And it ends up being e to the kt times e to the c. Okay, questions? Question? And then with t is equal to 0, and my population, we'll just call it p sub 0, then I substitute this in, and population can't be negative, doesn't make sense. E to the k times 0 times e to the c. I really don't care what c is. I just care about what e to the c is. So this is going to be 1. So P0 equals e to the c. So there is my differential equation solved. And that's PERT. Okay, I don't have an R in there for K. Same difference. It's your rate. Now, this other one that I have up here, it looks like the one I just did, but is it the same? No, it is not the same. So we separate our variables. Let's see what this solution looks like. So it's really important to read the problem and make sure you don't mess up your variables. Now what are we going to do? Not differentiate, integrate. I kind of thought that. And what's the antiderivative of this? Now, just let me clarify this again. This little dp with the integral symbol says find the antiderivative of whatever function is in there. This tells you the variable with respect to p. It's just a notation that says my variable is going to be p. And it works out really quite conveniently. So what is the antiderivative of 1 but with respect to p? P equals, let's ignore the k because it's just a constant. What's the antiderivative of t? T squared over 2 plus c. Doesn't look like PERT, does it? And all I did was switch the letters around a little bit. This is saying the population growth is proportional to the population. This is saying the population growth is proportional to the time. Should I write that? This is the symbol for proportional is that little, looks like a fish. And this is proportional to the population. I go through things because I know it's on the test. It looks like an alpha too. Okay? Is that okay? Well, that's all there is that's on the test. You have to be able to do U substitutions and solve differential equations and do subfields. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to stop the recording here, and we are going to, I'm going to give back the quizzes, and you need to take out a piece of paper, and you need to make corrections. In the best of my knowledge, no, we are not going to give back half points.
What?
Because the grading scale is so generous.
It's not that generous.